Good morning, guys, and welcome to the beautiful Delphi. This year, once again, we are taking on our annual road trip through Greece. 2 years ago, we took you along on our epic road trip through the Peloponnese, which included all the stops along there, which is the south of the mainland of Greece. Last year, we did the northern mainland of Greece, and this year, we are filling up the gap. So we are driving from Athens to Delphi, where we are now, and then we are making our way all the way to the west of the country, to the Ionian Islands, Lefkada and Kefalonia, which are the two lesser-known ones that are situated between Corfu and Zakynthos that are really known. And then we are making our way back through the mountains along the Peloponnese to Athens to go back home. That's the plan. First thing today, after a great breakfast, is to visit the archaeological site of Delphi. Quick room tour. This is not very big. You could definitely not lay in there, but it'll be good to shower in. And then this gorgeous room. This room is really basic but so beautiful because of this. We stayed at the Custody Hotel for one night, and we can highly recommend this place because wow, look at this view. The breakfast in the morning was great as well. It was what we are used to from Greek breakfasts. It was only a short walk to get to the entrance of the archaeological site. We have made it to the archaeological site of Delphi, and we tried to come as early as possible. We arrived around 9:30, but it is open from 8:30. Also, a great way to avoid the heat that they have made sure of is that there are plenty of trees along the walking path, so you can sit in the shade, and there is also water. Aside from that, this archaeological site only costs 12 euros, and there is also a museum included, and it is really worth it. There is so much to see around here. Ancient Greeks believed that Delphi was the navel of the earth. It became the most spiritual place in Greece. It included many sanctuaries and the most prestigious oracle in all of ancient Greece. This is where the Pythia, or the high priestess, shared the divine advice of the god Apollo to everyone who traveled from across the world to seek a prophecy. Apart from Greeks, the oracle was even visited by foreign leaders. The remnants of the ancient city stretch even further than the archaeological site itself. Wow, the Delphi archaeological site was just amazing. And you can see, even though not all the buildings have been well preserved, you can still imagine the impact it must have had on someone just walking around the city back in the days with a view like this, with a location that's just so epic. It must have really felt like a place of the gods. There's no other way I can, describe it. So I highly recommend visiting the archaeological site. We paid 12 euros and it included the ticket to the museum, which I didn't expect much of because usually the archaeologists, etc., they have taken the better objects that they have found and took them to a big museum. For example, British Museum, Louvre in Paris, or even just the bigger archaeological museums in Greece. That was not the case for this one. I was so confused and surprised when I saw the two almost identical statues that I had seen so many times in my art history books. And then there was a giant silver bull that was also crazy impressive. And when we made it to the last room of the museum, there was a whole group in there that was getting a tour, probably a bus tour, going on like a day trip or whatever. And once I realized what they were standing around, I got actual goosebumps. I turned around to my aunt and I said, "Listen, I have goosebumps right now. But the statue that is stood there is the charioteer. It is one of the most impressive bronze statues of the ancient Greek times. It is so well preserved, and it was molded, like it came out of a mold pretty much entirely with the eyelashes and everything. It is just a marvel to look at. So just having seen that was the cherry on top of a beautiful visit already. On the way to Delphi, we passed through another city. This one was called Arachova, and it is a beautiful picturesque mountain town that is a very popular ski destination during the winter in Greece. I'm not sure on how much in recent years the Greek have been able to ski in their own country. But back in the day, it was definitely a big thing, and it is still a beautiful city to walk around. Arguably more beautiful than the city of Delphi, which is much smaller, has a few good restaurants, but my dad did get salmonella and he had to be hospitalized yesterday. So I think I would prefer to stay in Arachova instead of in Delphi. So yesterday, we wanted to make our way to Lefkada, which is a 4-hour drive. But my parents already didn't join us in the morning because we thought my dad had just had food poisoning, and with taking some medication, he would be sorted out to go to Lefkada. But in the car, it went from bad to worse. I didn't think it was that bad at first, but about halfway through the journey, my family said, okay, we are passing a big city now. We need to look for a doctor because this is only getting worse. We cannot continue driving like this. Luckily, this was probably the closest place to Delphi that had a health center, aside from Athens, which was in the complete opposite direction. So we went to the health center. He was, as soon as his foot wasn't even through the door, and they were like shoving a wheelchair underneath his bum because he looked just pretty much like he was dying. Luckily, they took such great care of him, but they did decide to put him in an ambulance to Patras because the hospital that was better equipped was 40 minutes away. So my uncle, aunt, and me, we decided to follow them all the way to Patras. We passed the beautiful bridge at the end of the Gulf of Corinth, which we had been driving along. We ended up in the wrong hospital and then ended up in a bakery, just having some coffees, waiting for him to be discharged, which luckily he was the same day, but we still ended up having to stay in Patras for 2 nights, which was not the plan. We were meant to be in Lefkada right now. But luckily he's feeling much better, but he does have to go back to get a checkup on Thursday, which it happened on Tuesday, so we are spending 2 nights in Patras. Today we went off and explored around Patras a bit, and then on Thursday he has to go back to the hospital, and hopefully we can make our way to Lefkada for the final 2 days that we had planned there. We checked into the Olympic Star Hotel in the heart of Patras, the 3rd biggest city of Greece. Our balcony even looked out onto the famous stairs and the ocean at the end of the road. It got quite late quite fast, so we went for dinner, and the next day we devoured an amazing breakfast before exploring the city. We started at the Holy Church of St. Andrew, where we parked the car for free. This church was really impressive, and it's definitely worth having a look inside. We gathered our courage and climbed the steps as it was super hot outside, but the view was definitely worth it. On top of the hill is the old castle of Patras. We went for a local beer and a snack at Stisgiaias before descending along the ancient amphitheater and having a siesta. In the evening, we ended our time in Patras at a lovely rooftop restaurant looking out on the castle. We shared a mix of Greek appetizers, which made it hard to finish the amazing main dishes. I would highly recommend Sinialo. The next day, after my dad had gotten the all clear, we continued our journey to Lefkada. We spent another 2 hours in the car and were greeted by the goats, kite surfers, and the Agias Mavras fortress as we drove onto the island of Lefkada that's connected to the mainland by a bridge and a lagoon. We celebrated our arrival with a fancy dinner at Taverna Ominas. Good morning, guys. We have finally made it to Lefkada. After checking up in the hospital yesterday, we can now continue our journey as it was planned all along. So, as it turns out, today is our only full day here on Lefkada. So today, we need to make the most of it. So we are up early at 8 a.m. to go and get breakfast at the hotel. We are staying at the Virginia Star Hotel. And then we are off going to explore the island. Like I said, we stayed at the Virginia Star Hotel and really enjoyed our stay here. There was a pool and another amazing breakfast was included. They only got better and better, and we enjoyed it with a great view before setting off to explore the island. We arrived in Vasiliki all the way south of the island, and I was surprised at how picturesque it was because I hadn't heard about it before. Even Ernest Hemingway spent some time here. From here, we would later take the ferry to Kefalonia. There is a boat transfer to the beautiful Ayofili beach, or you can rent your own little boat, or you can simply just enjoy some souvenir shopping in the cozy shops. Next up was the southern cape of Lefkada. As soon as we reached the western coast of the island, we were blown away by the color of the water. We stopped at Panorama Nukului. This is the Cape of Lefkada, the most southern point, and that right there is the Red Desert, and that is the lighthouse, where initially there was a temple that sacrifices were made, but eventually it became a suicide point for broken up lovers. At least that is the story. And then right there we have the next island that we're going to, Kefalonia. But wow, what an incredible view. We continued to the best viewpoints of the island. Here's an overview. The first one looked out on Egremni Beach. Cafe Panoramia was the next one, a great place for a pit stop. Lastly, we arrived at Porto Katsiki, which aside from being extremely beautiful, is also extremely busy in high season, and the parking might be an issue for you. The most popular restaurants for sunset on the island are the Amente and Rahi restaurants. The latter is known for the Fly Me Bar, where the paragliding starts. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to experience the paragliding or the restaurants. We ended up lunching at Taverna Cabos, where we used to go on our holiday 23 years ago, and it is still amazing. We left the beaches for the day and continued to our last stop of the day, the Nidri waterfalls. Since it's the hottest time of the year, we were worried that the waterfalls would be dried up, but we took a chance on it anyway. Some water was running along the path, so we thought we got lucky. However, it quickly seemed like the water was being pumped up to the top of the waterfall. You can swim in the blue water, but expect not to be alone, since there was a constant stream of visitors. We passed through Nikiana on our way back to the hotel, where I was the first to cool off in the pool, all by myself. We ended our time on this island at one of the best restaurants we've eaten at in all of Greece. Pavlos is a traditional Greek grill restaurant where we each tried a different kind of spit or grilled meat. It was incredible. Obviously, I had to go for the lamb on the spit. It melts in your mouth. The next day, we drove back to Vasiliki to take the ferry to Kefalonia. In the upcoming videos, I'm taking you along to Kefalonia, with its picturesque towns, an actual European cenote, and more of these amazing beaches and hidden bays. Ending the trip in the mountain town called Kalavrita, a hidden gem in the Peloponnese, surrounded by incredible nature and history.